Greetings, residents of Gauteng. Later today, Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi will deliver the State of the Province address. From this speech, we can expect him to make more populist announcements aimed at giving a false impression of progress. A prime illustration of this is the establishment of the unlawful Nasi Spani and crime prevention warden schemes, which are nothing less than electioneering gimmicks. If you have been paying attention to the timing of these plans, there should be no doubt in your mind that the manner in which these commitments have been made has taken the shape of a political re-election campaign. The reality is that our province is faced with ongoing load shedding. Our youth and many other residents of Gauteng are unemployed. The economy is not growing. Criminals are having a field day. Our economic infrastructure, like your railway lines, have been destroyed. Our provincial public roads are in a bad state, and many of our provincial traffic lights are either vandalized or broken. Our healthcare facilities are not safe for both healthcare professionals and patients, and the housing mega projects that were supposed to be celebrated have been left incomplete and abandoned by incompetent contractors appointed by the provincial department. Since his last State of the Province address, Premier Lesufi has failed to decisively respond on all these fronts. The people of Gauteng want a government that will respond to these cold-faced realities, which have a real impact on people's daily lives and have paralyzed millions of our residents. On the economic front, an ActionSA government will firstly stop the economic decline in the province by declaring the damage and theft of economic infrastructure and hijacking of buildings as economic treason, and it will introduce appropriate sanctions. In Joburg alone, there are 188 hijacked buildings. 145 of these are within the CBD. I want you to imagine the economic potential that the province is missing as it relates to these buildings. In their current state, these buildings are sanctuaries of criminal activities, and they are also safety hazards for people that live in them. An ActionSA government will reclaim these buildings and, in working with the private sector, renovate them and bring them back to a functional state. This will enable us to address the housing crisis in the province while also bringing people closer to centers of employment. To support small businesses, we will make sure that we promote funding for entrepreneurial ventures by introducing government-secured low-interest loans for SMMEs at the private financial institutions. We will establish special incentives for investment projects that will improve South Africa's performance on the Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG bonds. We will review regulations applicable to SMMEs that drive up the cost of doing business and impede growth. These reforms will make it easier to do business in the province and therefore will drive up private investment and create jobs. As a party that believes in social justice, in our view, it cannot be right that people who risk their lives providing security services to our various departments should continue to earn only 3,500 when the government spends at least 15,000 for each security guard. An ActionSA provincial government will bring an end to the exploitation network created by the ANC by insourcing frontline services like your security guards and cleaners. Working with our Gauteng municipalities, we can address the energy crisis, which has been the greater part of our slow economic growth. Gauteng is the economic heartbeat of the country. Millions of people leave neighboring provinces and countries to come look for economic opportunities here in Gauteng. This man-made crisis called load shedding has crippled large and small businesses alike, creating a production limitation while severely impacting the quality of people's lives. An ActionSA government will resolve this by working with our 9 municipalities to shift the province's electricity dependence from Eskom and open the energy market to independent power producers. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that the renewable energy technologies like your solar and wind are advancing at an increasingly rapid pace. Our government will allow IPPs to produce electricity and sell it directly to consumers using our already established power distribution infrastructure. Taking this approach will reduce our reliance on the troubled Eskom, which will then reduce Eskom's pressure and allow it to resolve its issues. Our province productivity levels will also evade the impact of power cuts. We will phase out fossil fuels responsibly while utilizing our existing infrastructure and natural resources to avoid drastic economic losses that South Africa cannot afford. We will remove all political appointments, rationalize the top-heavy staff structure, and verify that there are sufficient skills needed to maintain and repair the existing fleet of power stations and the grid. We will ensure everyone has access and benefits from the just energy transition, promoting the interest of most South Africans. Early in January, I had the opportunity to visit several schools around the province. The reality is that our province academic performance can only be improved by consulting with role players in the education sector. In my engagement, I met with a number of stakeholders, including teachers, principals, and SGB members, who stressed the importance of reintroducing school inspectors. An ActionSA government will also expand the employment of subject advisors to decrease the ratio between advisors and teachers. We'll introduce a mandatory service year for all education graduates prior to registration with South African Council of Educators. We'll enforce strict compliance with minimum requirements for principals, including completion of school management training programs. We'll take active steps to ensure that all school-age children have access to extracurricular activities such as sport, drama, and art to encourage the development of balanced individuals. These reforms, among others, will improve Gauteng's academic competitiveness. Recently, we were at the incomplete K31 Beyers-Naudé construction site, which is a glaring demonstration of the Premier and his government's inability to see the project through to completion and their approval of hiring incompetent contractors. In November last year, ActionSA raised concerns over the K31 Beyers-Naudé roadworks, which has taken more than necessary time to be completed. Following our statement, the department and JMK Civils responded with aggression to us, including sending us letters from their lawyers threatening legal action and demanding that we withdraw our statements. The ActionSA-led government will ensure effective planning and scheduling of projects. We will insist on adequate financial planning and management of resources. We will introduce a supply chain policy that unapologetically insists on experience and competent contractors. We will maintain good communication and relationship with all parties, including regular reporting on the progress of the project. Understanding the importance of roads infrastructure in driving the economic growth in the province, ActionSA, through a targeted long-term plan of investing into key infrastructure projects, will invest in the construction of quality roads and build the foundation required for South Africa's economy to flourish and to provide prosperity to our people. In 2020, at the start of the COVID-19, our province lost crucial economic infrastructure when our railway system was destroyed under the watch of this current unpatriotic government. The railway system was not only used to transport millions of people to and from the center of economic opportunities, but also a means of income for informal traders and entrepreneurs who have now lost their market due to its collapse. The collapse of the railway system in the province is severely felt across the board. ActionSA will invest in the restoration of our railways, will ensure safety and efficiency. This undertaking will create millions of jobs and reduce the traveling cost for job seekers. Further, the province is riddled with old and dilapidated factories which once represented the hive of economic activities. ActionSA will identify and reclaim these factories, which will lease to investors on a contractual basis and incentivize investment by giving this infrastructure to entrepreneurs who have the real capacity to put them to use. This will create employment and rejuvenate our industries. In dealing with crime, I understand that crime is one of the biggest challenges in our province. Just recently, in the second quarter, Gauteng contributed 27.9% to the country's overall crime stats. But the manner in which the Premier has gone about addressing crime in the province is unfortunately outside the confines of the law. Unlike Premier Panyaza Lesufi's unlawful crime warning schemes, ActionSA will supplement our police by investing in properly trained men and women who are sufficiently equipped to enforce the law. We will also draw from our reservists who stand ready to serve their country. Other reforms that ActionSA will introduce will be to rebuild our policing capacity, to reverse the over-politicization of our police services and address the severe constraints on resources. This will assist our law enforcement agencies to proactively respond to crime. We will decentralize more functions to the provincial police department and ensure that we empower context-based crime prevention and response. We'll invest in more police stations and introduce more mobile police infrastructure so that more people have access to the police services. The work of fixing Gauteng starts with fixing our local governments. Functional municipalities are the foundation of a prosperous state. To get Gauteng and South Africa on the right track again, we must start fixing the basics of service delivery at municipal level. We'll ensure that all municipalities in Gauteng, especially those where ActionSA is in government, improve on financial management of their budget, that they improve on the governance and oversight of service delivery projects and ensure that all conditional grants are spent in time. Revenue losses that are incurred daily through losses in the distribution of electricity and water, as well as theft through illegal connections, must be stopped. The reality is that some of the problems causing municipalities not to spend their conditional grants is because of poor planning by municipalities and poor contract management of service providers. This is totally unacceptable, and municipalities that fail in this aspect of their work must know that they are robbing the communities of much-needed infrastructure and services. ActionSA will continue to champion the fight against Panyaza's illegal employment schemes that gives false hope to our youth. I do have to make it clear, we are not against the government creation of jobs for the youth. However, any effort to fight crime and create employment should be done within the prescripts of the law. It is ridiculous that although 63.9% of the youth in Gauteng are unemployed, the government continues to toy with their hopes and dreams. This dire situation has arisen due to the current government's inability to provide long-term sustainable economic opportunities that will empower the youth. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to recognize that in this upcoming election, we have the real chance of unseating the uncaring government and chart a new path of prosperity for our great province. I want you to recognize that your individual vote carries this country's prospects of a better future. It is only when we take action through your vote that we will be able to arrest the decline and put the province on an upward trajectory. Let's take action to fix Gauteng. I thank you.